The air in the hangar turned heavy. Metal walls shook. Warning lights flashed red. Alien soldiers shouted in panic as the ground vibrated under their boots. Gornath, the genetically created T-Rex hybrid, was loose, and it was angry. The creature was massive, over 20 feet tall. Its skin was dark green with armored scales, its eyes glowed orange, and its sharp teeth were longer than a soldier's arm. Chains hung from its neck and claws, now broken. It had escaped its holding cell by pure force. The alien guards fired, stun blasts, but they bounced off the beast's thick hide like paper. One unlucky officer tried to stand in front of it with a shock spear. Gornath roared, a deafening sound that shook the steel rafters, then swung its tail and threw the guard across the hangar like a ragdoll. The others ran, high above. From her balcony overlooking the chaos, Queen Virexa watched in horror. Her voice came through the command speakers. "Do not kill the beast. It's bonded to the crown. Subdue it without harm." But no one could, because Gornath wasn't listening to anyone. On the far end of the hangar, Cal Briggs, a human mechanic, had been working under a starship engine when the alarms went off. Covered in oil and holding a wrench, he stood up and wiped his hands on his shirt. "What now?" he muttered. Annoyed, then he saw it, the enormous dinosaur-like creature storming across the hangar. Whoa. Big guy's having a bad day. Everyone else ran for cover. Cal didn't. Instead, he dropped his wrench, took a deep breath, and walked straight toward the monster. Queen Virexa leaned forward in her viewing chamber. "Who is that human?" she asked. A royal guard checked quickly. "His name is Cal Briggs, Your Majesty, maintenance crew, no military record." "Then why is he walking toward my beast?" The guard had no answer. Below, the hangar fell into shocked silence. Cal moved slowly, his hands out. "Easy, buddy," he said calmly. "I'm not here to fight." Gornath turned his giant head toward the human. His eyes narrowed. A low growl rumbled from his throat. Another step and he could crush Cal with one foot, but Cal didn't stop. "You're scared, huh?" he said gently. "You're in pain. I can see it." Gornath took a deep breath, ready to roar. Instead, he sniffed the air and paused. Cal stopped a few feet in front of the monster. Very slowly, he raised a hand. And then, he did something no one expected. He touched the beast's snout. The queen stood frozen, her voice caught in her throat. He touched him and lived. The alien soldiers stared from behind crates and shields. Not one of them could believe it. Gornath, the feared creature, closed his eyes for a moment and let out a slow rumbling sigh, like a sleeping animal calming down after a nightmare. Then he sat, quiet, still, right in front of the human. Cal gave a small smile and patted the giant beast on the head. "That's better," he whispered. "See? You're not a monster. You're just misunderstood." High above, Queen Virexa gripped the rail of her balcony. Her heart raced. Her mind swirled. She had ruled this beast for years, fed it, trained it, feared it. But this human, this mechanic, had done in one moment what no royal command or collar ever could. He had earned its trust, and that made her nervous, very nervous. Hangar was silent. Gornath, the towering hybrid T-Rex, sat calmly in the middle of the floor like a pet dog, and standing right in front of it was a grease-covered human holding a wrench. Cal Briggs. A mechanic, not a soldier, not a tamer, just a guy who fixed broken machines, and now, he had tamed a monster. The moment stunned everyone. The alien soldiers who had once run in fear now peeked out from behind crates and fuel tanks, staring in disbelief. Engineers froze. Drones hovered, confused. No one dared move. No one except the queen. The doors to the balcony hissed open, and Queen Virexa stepped down with her royal guards behind her, her long silver cloak dragging across the floor. Her face was like carved stone, cold, unreadable, but her golden eyes locked onto Cal as she walked. She stopped only a few feet from the giant beast. Gornath growled softly but stayed still. The queen raised one elegant hand and pointed directly at Cal. What did you just do, human? Cal blinked, still holding his wrench. I calmed him down. Murmurs echoed across the hangar. The Queen narrowed her eyes. That creature responds to no one but me. He was created to obey the blood of the royal line. Guess he likes humans now, Cal said, shrugging. One of the guards raised his weapon. Speak with respect to Her Majesty. Gornath instantly rose to his full height, roaring with rage. The guard fell backward in fear. The Queen raised her hand to stop any action. Stand down, she said to her men, never taking her eyes off Cal. The beast protects him. She stepped closer. Explain yourself. Cal scratched the back of his head. I saw a creature in pain. He wasn't angry. He was scared. You all shouted and aimed weapons, but no one listened to him. You think monsters can be reasoned with? I don't believe in monsters, Cal said. I believe in how we treat them. Gornath let out a low rumble as if agreeing. The Queen turned slightly, speaking to her royal handler. Run a full scan, check for tech, implants, pheromone sprays, anything. The handler activated a small drone that flew around Cal. After a minute, the drone beeped twice and returned. No foreign tech detected, the handler said quietly. He's clean. The Queen stepped back, eyes narrowing. You are either a liar or something far more dangerous. Cal folded his arms. I'm just a mechanic. That evening, Cal was placed under protective observation. Not prison, but not freedom either. His tools were taken. His room was watched, but Gornath refused to leave his side. The beast sat outside Cal's temporary quarters like a sleeping mountain, only moving when Cal moved. Every alien that passed, I gave both of them a wide space. Inside, Cal sat on a bench, arms crossed, while the Queen stood behind a glass panel. She watched him in silence for nearly a minute. Finally, she spoke. You didn't run when everyone else did. Nope. Why? Cal shrugged. Because I've fixed enough machines to know. Sometimes things break because they're scared, not evil. She stared at him. You realize I could have you removed from this colony for touching a royal war beast. I didn't touch him. The Queen tilted her head. You didn't? I understood him. There was silence. Then a flicker of something passed across her face. Doubt? Respect? She wasn't sure. But one thing was clear. The human had done the impossible. And now, he wasn't just a guest on her ship. He was a mystery she had to solve. They called it the Thunder Caves, a place where light didn't touch the ground, where sound echoed for miles, where the wild things, too dangerous to train, too strong to cage, were sent to vanish or survive. No soldier entered. No tracker returned. It was where the Queen sent her enemies, or her tests. Cal stood at the edge of the massive steel door that led into the caves, a harness bag over his shoulder, a calm look on his face, and beside him, Gornath, his unlikely companion. Above them, on a raised platform, Queen Virexa stood with her court, eyes sharp. If your bond with the beast is real, she said, voice echoing over the canyon, then prove it. She pointed toward the darkness. Take him through the Thunder Caves, return by sunrise. Cal raised a brow. What happens if we don't? You die, she said without blinking. The crowd gasped. The Queen's advisor stepped forward and whispered, Your Majesty, what if he succeeds? Virexa didn't turn. Then I will have no choice but to respect him. The doors opened. Thunder rolled out, not from the sky, but from inside. Cal stepped forward, one hand resting on Gornath's shoulder. Let's go, big guy, he whispered, and together man and beast walked into the dark. Inside, the world changed, no lights, only shadows. Walls dripped with moisture. Strange glowing plants pulsed like quiet hearts. Every few steps the cave growled, alive with ancient energy. Gornath walked ahead slowly, sniffing, muscles tense. Cal kept a steady pace behind him. He wasn't afraid. He had something better. Trust halfway through, the path split. Gornath growled low. staring at a narrow tunnel to the right. "Which way, buddy?" Cal asked. The beast sniffed, turned left. Cal followed. Minutes later, a wall of spikes burst from the ground. Cal stopped just in time. "Good call," he said, patting Gornath's leg. The beast grunted in pride. Deeper inside, they found a pit, full of steam vents. Gornath stepped forward and yelped as fire hissed from below. He backed up, growling. Cal knelt, studied the pattern. "I see it. It's timed." He waited, counted, then ran. Steam shot up behind him. He made it to the other side. "Come on, big guy." Gornath crouched, then leapt across, landing beside him with a quake. They shared a look. Cal smiled. "You're getting good at this." Hours passed. At one point, they stopped near a pool. Cal took a drink. Gornath laid down. In the silence, Cal whispered, "They call you a monster." Gornath's eyes flicked toward him. "But I've seen monsters. They hide behind orders, behind titles." He reached out, touching the beast's jaw. "You're not one." Gornath leaned into his hand. By the time they reached the exit, the sun was just beginning to rise. They stepped into the light, dirt-covered, tired, but alive. Waiting outside were soldiers, nobles, and the queen herself. The court stared, in shock. Gornath was calm, clean of blood, loyal. Cal? Not a scratch on him. The queen stepped forward slowly. She looked at the human, then at the beast. She spoke carefully. "You passed." Cal nodded. "Told you." "I'm not sure if I should be proud or afraid." He gave a small smile, maybe both. For the first time, Queen Virexa didn't order her guards to lower their weapons. She did it herself. And for a reason she didn't understand yet. Her hands were shaking. Queen Virexa never let anyone into her private throne chamber, not advisors. Not generals, not family. It was her most guarded space, quiet, tall, lit by soft star lamps and cold silver light. On the walls hung weapons from fallen kings, and in the center was her throne, built from the bones of her enemies and the steel of her crown ship. But today, she allowed a mechanic inside. Just one. Cal Briggs stepped carefully, not because he was afraid, but because the silence was heavy here. Virexa stood by the window, arms crossed behind her back, looking out over the shining towers of the alien capital. Gornath waited outside, curled on the floor like a giant cat. The queen didn't turn when she spoke. "They say I was born in war. I say I was shaped by it." Cal didn't reply. He waited. "My people," she continued, "have ruled by force for 10 generations. When I was 13, my mother gave me Gornath, a gift, a symbol of power." She turned, her golden eyes cold. "But he almost killed me." Cal raised an eyebrow. "I was too soft," she said bitterly. "I tried to approach him with kindness. He snapped his jaws inches from my throat. My mother struck me afterward, said I had embarrassed our bloodline." She looked away again. "So, I learned fear. I learned command. I became queen by making others bend. Even him." Cal slowly stepped forward. "He didn't obey you because you were strong. He obeyed you because he was afraid." She nodded. "And fear works. Until it doesn't." She looked at him now, more vulnerable than before. "You touched him. You rode him. You spoke to him." "I listened," Cal corrected. "And now," she said, voice lowering, "he looks at you like I once dreamed he'd look at me." Silence. Then Cal said something simple, but heavy. "He never hated you. He just never trusted you." She closed her eyes for a long time, then opened them with something softer inside. "I don't know how to earn that." "Trust." Cal smiled faintly. "Then you're lucky, because now you have a teacher." The next morning, something happened that hadn't happened in years. Queen Virexa walked through the royal courtyard. No guards, no weapons, just her, and Gornath walking beside her. People stared, and walking calmly behind them, Cal. She stopped by the training ground, a group of young Alien warriors stood stiff as statues. Virexa looked at them and said, "I was raised to rule through fear." She turned to Cal, "But now I've seen something better." Then she said something even more shocking. "Teach them what you taught me." Cal stepped forward. He looked at the students, then at the Queen. He nodded once. "I'll teach them how to speak without shouting, how to lead without a whip, how to build more than just weapons." Then he added, "But only if you join the lesson." Virexa blinked, and then she smiled. A real one. Small, but real. That night as the sun set, the Queen stood at the edge of her balcony, Cal beside her, Gornath between them, gently snoring. "I used to see this world as something I had to conquer," she said. "And now?" Cal asked. She looked at the stars. "I think I'd rather protect it." It began with a whisper in the tunnels, then a flicker in the lights, then silence. Too perfect, too long. That's how the attack from below started. Queen Virexa stood in the royal hall beside Cal, watching a training session. Young warriors practiced side by side, some mimicking Cal's calm commands, others still gripping old habits of force. Gornath rested in the corner, his tail swaying slowly, eyes half closed. And then, everything went dark. The lights flickered, once, then again, then off. The ground shook, screams rang through the lower levels, a deep crack echoed beneath their feet, like the earth was splitting open. An explosion tore through the north wing of the palace. Dust flew. Steel screamed, and out of the hole rose the invaders, cloaked in black armor, masked, fast, and brutal. The Burrow clan, a hidden rebellion of exiles and weapon smugglers who once served under Virexa's father. They didn't come to kill the Queen, they came to steal Gornath. "Protect the beast," one royal guard shouted, but the attackers didn't go for the beast first, they went for Cal. He was the key now. The man the monster listened to. A blade shot toward Cal's back, but before it could land, Gornath moved. The beast roared louder, then thunder and slammed his tail down, crushing the attacker mid-leap. More came. Dozens. Blasters fired. Net bombs launched. Sonic scramblers buzzed in the air, but Gornath didn't run. He stood over Cal like a living wall of teeth and muscle. Virexa drew her blade and jumped into the fight. She moved like a storm, sharp, elegant, deadly. But there were too many. One, Rebel fired a sonic spike that hit her shoulder. She fell, gasping, and was pinned beneath rubble from a collapsing support beam. Her guards couldn't reach her in time. She was trapped. And then, the ceiling shook, dust poured down, claws smashed through the rubble like paper. Gornath roared and tore the debris away with his jaws, and standing on his back, arm bleeding, eyes furious, was Cal. He reached down to Virexa. "Come on," he said. "We've got a rebellion to stop." She stared at him, half stunned, half amazed. Then she took his hand. The palace halls turned into a battlefield, but now it wasn't just soldiers fighting. It was a queen, a human, and a beast, together. Gornath charged down the corridors with Cal on his back, knocking attackers aside with powerful sweeps of his tail. Virexa, now beside them, shouted commands not in rage, but with clarity and purpose. Her soldiers responded with courage they hadn't felt in years. Eventually, the invaders broke and fled into the cracks they came from. The palace shook one final time, then fell quiet. Smoke rose, but the heart of the throne still stood. In the broken courtyard, Cal stood with Virexa and Gornath, surrounded by wounded but standing allies. One young soldier approached and saluted the queen. "Permission to speak." "Freely, Your Majesty." Virexa nodded. "You didn't rule today," the soldier said. "You led." The queen looked at Cal, and then she smiled again. Later, as repairs began, Virexa and Cal stood alone on the viewing deck. Gornath rested peacefully below. "You saved my life," she said softly. "You saved mine first," he replied. She looked out at the stars. "Maybe it's time I stop ruling with fear." Cal nudged her shoulder. "You already have." There were claw marks on the marble pillars, scorch burns on the throne room floor, and a long crack down the center of the Queen's war table, left by Gornath's tail during the invasion. But Queen Virexa didn't ask her workers to fix any of it. She left the damage there, as a reminder, not of weakness, but of change. For the first time in royal memory, the palace was open. No heavy doors. No guards with stun spears standing shoulder to shoulder. Instead, alien civilians stood in lines, engineers, traders, farmers, soldiers, waiting to speak with their queen, waiting to be heard. And beside her, not generals, not royal blood, wow. Briggs, in a half-zipped jacket still stained with engine grease. He wasn't sitting on a throne. He leaned on a railing, sipping recycled tea, but every time someone mentioned Gornath, or loyalty, or trust, they looked at him. Not the beast, not the crown. Him. That evening, after the last visitor left, Virexa walked out to the beast yard. Cal was already there, sitting on Gornath's back, legs crossed like he was sitting. On a hill, you look comfortable, she said. Cal looked down at her with a grin. He's a great seat, little bumpy but warm. Gornath huffed in amusement. Virexa stepped forward, then paused. Slowly, carefully, she reached up and placed her hand on Gornath's face. No armor, no gloves, no fear, just skin and scale. Gornath closed his eyes and leaned in. You waited years for this, didn't you? Cal asked gently. Virexa didn't answer right away. Then she said, I always believed power meant being above everyone else. And now? She looked up at the giant creature in front of her. A beast bred for war, now calm as a moonbeam. Now I see that real power is earned, not taken. She looked at Cal. You taught me that. He smiled, then hopped down. They stood shoulder to shoulder. No crown, no rank. Just two people and a beast who had fought through fear and come out better. Suddenly, a messenger approached, bowing quickly. Your Majesty, the Central Systems Alliance has requested a new treaty. They wish to send envoys, human and alien alike. Virexa turned to Cal. Should I be nervous? He chuckled. Only if I come with you. She smirked. Then I'll need you at my side. He raised an eyebrow. Officially? Virexa hesitated, then stepped forward, lowering her voice. You may not wear armor, or speak like a royal, or walk like a general. But in my court, in this galaxy, and in Gornath's eyes, you are already half my crown. Cal looked at her carefully, then down at the massive beast lying peacefully nearby, then back up. And what if I don't want a crown? She tilted her head. Then I'll offer you something better. He chuckled. Like what? She stepped even closer. A place where you belong, beside someone who sees you. The stars rose over the palace that night, and for the first time in her reign, Queen Virexa didn't dine alone. The royal throne room had changed. The banners were still there. The high windows still poured in golden light. But now, between the steps of the throne and the polished floor, there sat a giant beast, calmly resting its massive head on its claws. Gornath. Once feared, now trusted. Still massive, but peaceful. Beside him stood Cal Briggs, wearing a newly polished but still creased jacket. He wasn't a prince. He wasn't a knight. But today people came to hear him speak, because he was the one who touched the untouchable, who calmed the Queen's monster, who taught a crown how to listen. Queen Virexa stood beside him, tall and regal, yet with something new in her eyes. Light, not weakness, not fear, but something warmer. Human, even. Across the throne room, hundreds of aliens and humans gathered, leaders from other planets, mechanics, soldiers, children. They had come to witness a new kind of treaty, not one signed by fear or threat, but by example. Virexa raised her voice. My people once believed strength was measured by how tightly we controlled others, she said. But today, I offer something else. She turned to Cal. Today I stand not above, but with someone who showed me another way. She stepped back and nodded to him. Cal looked awkward at first, then he cleared his throat and smiled. I'm not good at speeches, he began. I fix things, usually broken engines, sometimes broken doors. Once a vending machine that spit hot soup instead of coins. The crowd chuckled. But I never thought I'd fix a relationship between a queen and her dinosaur. He paused, then added more quietly. I never fixed Gornath. He was never broken. He was just misunderstood. The room quieted, and then Cal said something no one forgot. Sometimes the strongest creature in the room isn't the one who bites hardest. It's the one who lets you pet its head and trust you not to hurt it. And sometimes the most powerful crown is the one willing to change. Phyrexia smiled. A real proud smile, not the kind she wore for war, the kind she wore when someone finally saw her. Later that night, long after the speeches, the throne room was empty again. Gornath snored lightly by the fire pit. Phyrexia and Cal sat on the steps sharing a meal of roasted root fruit and space bread. I never expected any of this, Cal said, taking a bite. I just wanted to fix your starboard engine. You did, Phyrexia said, and a war beast. You did that too. And maybe a queen. She looked at him. You definitely did that. They sat in silence a while longer. Then she leaned against him, not heavily, just close enough that he felt the weight of her armor touch his sleeve. Used to think being alone made me stronger, she whispered. Cal glanced at her. I used to think I didn't matter. They looked at each other, and something passed between them. Not romantic, not royal, just true. Outside, a new statue was placed in the Capitol Square. It showed a human and a queen standing side by side, a great beast between them, its head bowed low and peaceful. At the bottom it read, Trust is the language no translator can speak, but every heart can understand. And far away, on distant moons and cold stations, when people told stories of the day the queen changed, they didn't talk about battles, they didn't talk about laws. They talked about a beast who once roared, and the human who reached out his hand and said, Easy, big guy, I hear you.